Before I get into my card deck and my January plan with me, I wanted to quickly share with you where I am. It's Saturday, December 30th. I'm in my cabin on a mooring ball in the San Juan Islands, and the rain has just started again. I'm feeling incredibly grateful and very relaxed. We went for a nice walk around the island and enjoyed time together as a family today. And I am not in any way in a mindset of planning the new year, planning my January, thinking about anything outside of this boat, this island, the rain tonight, where we are right now. However, as I go through my card deck, I can see my weekly tasks coming up and know that reality is coming back around. So the best part of the card deck is that everything's set and I don't really have to do any planning when it comes to managing my home. Now, of course, that's for home management, and I'm in between my 12-week years. So I have another one coming up in mid-January. So there's going to be a little bit more planning involved because this is more, I'm doing a fitness-based challenge, but then I also have some YouTube videos around it and personal projects that I'll be planning for. So there will be more planning, but again, it goes with the same mindset, same principles when it comes to the home management card deck, in that you set it once and then you let it go on rotation, or you just work the plan and you're not sitting each week in front of a blank page trying to decide what it is that you need to get done that week. And I really appreciate that, especially today when I did not want to think about January. So the first thing I did when I was just planning out January, today's a Saturday, so Saturday's usually the days where I kind of go over the calendar, figure out what's coming up. So the first thing I did was go through holidays, fun holidays. I did some research online. I've done this before in other videos where I just see what cute holidays are happening and I note them. Outside of this video, I also added some personal holidays. So those are those anniversaries. I created a video about adding anniversaries into my calendar, and that was from those daily date dividers. So they're the dividers in my card deck that each day I make a memory for. I finished my last set from September 2022 to September 2023. I went through each of the days and picked out memories that I wanted to incorporate into my calendar on a yearly basis and celebrate as anniversaries. And I used the show Parks and Recreation as kind of like the inspiration behind all of it, and had the best time going through all the memories, first of all, but then also thinking about how it is that I'm going to commemorate that. So anyway, there was a couple that were exciting in January that I added onto the card. One of them that I can tell you about was that there's a fort day on January 7th, because last January 7th, my husband made a fort for my son in our salon, and it was so cute and it was really cozy and we had a lot of fun. So we'll celebrate it again by, as you can guess, building a fort. The video might move around a little bit as I go. Hopefully none of you have motion sickness because we are on a mooring ball and I'm doing this. While I'm writing down the holidays for January of 2024, I wanted to touch on a couple questions and comments that I've received over the last couple of weeks. Actually, I've received so many comments and I'm so grateful for everyone's support, all of your feedback. It's been wonderful chatting with you. A couple things that I found showing up over and over again were, how do I apply this when I work full-time? And for that, I would just say go to the wisdom of the ladies. Read Sidetracked Home Executives. They have some example schedules in there. They talk about their lives when they were more of like an executive outside of the home type roles. And in my own personal life, I did the same thing. So I discovered it first. My mother-in-law told me about the book when I was working full-time, and I felt like I was literally drowning in trying to keep the house going and take care of kids and all that fun stuff. And then also I went back to it again and kind of refocused. And I've heard this from multiple women in the comments where, you go through the decades and you find yourself grounding in this method or this practice as your life changes. And so when I was homeschooling and working crazy, weird hours, that was again going back into the book and figuring out, okay, how can I take ownership over my schedule and my life and the things around the house? And they're full of ideas. And things might not get done perfectly either. And they don't always get done perfectly today even. So some days, like I think I've mentioned it in the last video, some days I skip quite a few of the tasks. You can skip and it just gets shuffled to the next Wednesday. Yes, your bookshelves might be dusty for an extra week, but there's a system that if you're not able to get it done, you know when you'll get it done, and then you won't have it on your plate for the rest of the week. It's not going to be just transferred over to the next day's to-do list. I also try to practice touching things, just doing small amounts. And that's another thing, just from my own personal experience, has helped. So you might not be able to do a full mopping of the floor, but going around and spot mopping things feels good too. And then the other comment that I get is that it is too much. Like, this is overwhelming. This is ridiculous. I think the last comment was something around that this is insane. I get it. It's not for everyone. So, funny story. A couple years ago, I just got reminded about this, actually. I asked my friends on Instagram on my personal account, who of you plan or use a planner is what I said. I think the specific language. Who uses a planner? Only 30% of the people that answered. And mind you, people don't engage with me that much on Instagram. And I had so many people answer this survey. For only 30% of the responses to say that they use some form of a planner was interesting to me. But when I look at the examples around just like my personal inner circle, they don't use planners. I'm the only one that feels like writing something down makes me feel better. We're all different, and I think that's a good thing. Another thing that I noticed within the comments is that the majority of you are creatives. So you're people that, whether it's you're actually artists for a living, you're doing some form of writing or multimedia for a living, or you're consumed through artistic hobbies. So, for example, my husband's hobbies are very active. He's a paddleboarder, he does climbing, skateboarding, he's a very active person. So is my son. My other son's more artistic like myself, where my hobbies are writing. I like to make videos. I love to dance. We're very different people. And so the idea that we're going to plan or think about life or go about our day-to-days in the same way doesn't make sense to me. So I'm personally not offended by those comments, and that's interesting. It just says something about who that person is that's commenting, not in a negative way. I just know who that person is then by what they're saying. But this is also not that crazy. Getting focused again. So I'm highlighting the dates now for my upcoming 12-week year. I'm really excited about this one because it's health-focused and so needed, especially if I'm going more into focusing on video, on writing. These are such stationary activities that I really want to make sure that my physical health and well-being, that I'm making that a priority as well. So I just wrote down on the left-hand side week 1, week 2, and week 3, and highlighted the start of the week as well as the WAM, or the weekly accountability meeting dates, which is on the 20th and 27th here, as you see, where I go over the results, both lead and lag, for the week prior. Now here you see I printed out my 12-week year. I haven't cut it out or done anything like that. I will eventually, in the next couple weeks, make sure that that's ready, and then I'll make a video around how I'm preparing that for health and fitness for what I'm doing. Now, with that being said, one of the things that I'm also working on, because I just finished all the 4x6 versions of my cards, I'm so excited about that because I know a lot of you prefer those larger sizes. They're up on my Etsy shop. So now I get to focus on taking my 12-week year with becoming a better YouTuber and making that available to more people. I'm going to be making a video in January that breaks down everything that I did with YouTube. Now, I'm not an expert in any way, but I can help you as far as forming and organizing your strategy. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to be sharing that exact process. So many of you, like I said, are creatives and are making videos. Even if you're not making a video, let's say you're doing the card deck or you're doing some kind of planning, wouldn't it be awesome if you made videos about your planning process and helped other women out there that can relate to what you're doing or your specific situation? Especially, oh my goodness, if you're working full time and trying to improve your planning process, making really simple videos once a week on that would be awesome. So anyway, what I did was, just for maintenance and for my ongoing time with YouTube, I made just some quick cards that I'm cutting out right now so that I can feel organized and feel like I know what I'm doing as far as YouTube goes in 2024. I'm just testing out a couple things. So I really loved those weekly accountability meetings and going over my score, because it was so eye-opening to see. You think like, oh, why aren't people responding well to this? And then you look at what the work was that you actually did, and you think, oh, that's because I should have improved upon this, or you didn't put out the video that week. I just created a version of the weekly accountability meeting for myself to be able to do. I'm only going to do it at the end of the month of January. I'm not going to do it every week for YouTube anymore, but I did find it really beneficial. The card deck for the 12 weeks, though, will be more of the program that I worked through and just a format that you can adopt into your card deck. So these cards are in a 3x5 and they're color coded with the YouTube red and actually the YouTube black as well, which is, I forget what they call it. It's like not quite black, something like that. Everything that I have on these cards are written in an affirmative way, not in a to-do fashion, but more in the sense that I am doing it. I'm in the process of doing it. There's something about just tricking my mind that really helps. It doesn't give me the option to not do it. It doesn't work every time, of course, but most of the time it does. I left the spot on the upper right blank for time. I was going to write like an underline that said something like time that you can fill in, because ultimately I don't know how I would use that, if I would put in more of like a time card and just note all the times that I was working on videos. That way I could track to see which style of video takes longer than others. As I'm cutting these, my husband was out on his paddleboard and my son was watching The Office, and so we watched The Office together while I was cutting. I also have cards for shorts. I'm only going to do 4 in January, and the ideas that I had for shorts are pretty simple, so I don't think it will be crazy to do 1 a week. So now I'm just setting up what it is that I intend to do with a video to create that lead score, writing down that I am going to do 9 videos in the month of January and 4 shorts. And that was just figuring out 2 videos a week, which was something that was a little bit of a stretch for me. I shouldn't say a little bit. It was a lot of a stretch for me, but I feel like it will be doable in January, especially because the subject I'm going to be talking about, I'm really excited about. Physical fitness and walking and all that fun stuff. And then I created a tracker just below it with 9 little circles. I'm not going to, at each video, cross that off. That's just for at the very end of the month. I'll go over there and just note how many I've completed, and then I might add some more items onto the video card depending on what it is that I need to work on with the channel. There's some things like I'm not crazy about my logo. There's definitely some more items that I need to cover as far as my presentation skills and what it is that I need to work on as far as habits go when I'm speaking. Part of the reason why things take me so long is because I don't like this sound, and I don't like it when I say or as someone's pointed out to me recently too. Oh, see, I just did both things. When you say, I don't know. I say that often at the end of thoughts or at the end of topics as a way of not knowing how to conclude what it was that I was just speaking about and moving on to the next item. There's things that I could probably add to that list of things that I need to work on in January. But for right now, like I said, I'm not in a planning mindset in any way. So sitting down and doing this felt really hard, right? Like thinking about the videos. This one didn't so much because there was already a set of videos that I had wanted to do and ended up spending the rest of December focusing on those card decks that I was talking about. So I had already written these topics out for the videos that I'd wanted to do, but I used old repurposed cards. There's something about having really pretty cards that are neatly outlined, that are well thought out, that makes me want to take them more seriously, I guess, or just focus on them. It makes me a little bit happier. So I'm just switching out these cards for those new, more tidy cards. On the list of videos that I have for January is creating a video of sitting at my 12-week year for the fitness-oriented goal. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be going into. So I was short on a few video ideas. And like I said, I'm just not in the mindset to figure out what those are. And if I'm going to be honest with myself, I probably wouldn't have picked correct videos either. Having the intention to have those figured out is good enough for me at the moment. So you could totally make these cards for yourself as well. I just created a video divider that I'm putting behind January because as the month progresses, all of those video cards are being shuffled in front of the dates for January. January and all of the dates in it are in front of the video divider, which is going to be completed by the end of the month. I still need to do an annual review, and I've been putting it off because I'm trying to create a video for our personal channel of our 2023 as our family. So when I'm shuffling all the videos in front of the dates, one of the things that I need to work on that was a sticking point for me during the 12-week year was figuring out when it was that I wanted the video to be published, because when you're creating a channel around planning, some of it is time dependent. So you have to have a video out, for example, planning February by the end of January. So figuring out when an item needs to be published and then working backwards, figuring out when it is that you need to have it scripted, when you need to have it shot and edited and all that fun stuff. I'll be playing with how to make sure that that's noted on the cards that are with the video idea, when it is that the ideal date of publish is, and then how to figure out how far back I have to work. I've made it so that on Tuesdays, those are pretty intensive video days, and then Thursdays as well. And I'm trying to make sure that these videos are done ahead of time as far as the production goes, so that I can spend time in post-production when it's dark outside or times that you wouldn't necessarily want to be shooting video. I use my monthly card as reference for finding when those dates are. A couple of you have asked about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday tabs, incorporating dividers into the card deck. And I've done that before. I find that just using the calendar as a reference is just as effective. And having the date dividers or the, like days of the week dividers was just one more thing I had to shuffle or think about, and it just wasn't worth it. But that's definitely something you can try out. Why not? Just going through the card deck as is. Today's the 30th, so there's some things like checking the mail and cleaning out the car I'm not going to get around to until the 2nd, so I'm shuffling those in front of the date so I don't have to have that on my so-called to-do list leading up to that date. I did my monthly review a couple nights ago. It was dark, so I didn't really feel like filming it. And then the important dates review, I filmed a little bit as far as finding fun holidays goes, but for more like personal dates, that was just being added onto Google Calendar. And then we just had our family council tonight, and during that time we went over activities, holidays, vacations coming up, that type of thing. And then I made notes doing that. I filed the monthly review in front of the last Wednesday of the month of January. So I'll do all of that again, and I'm going to write it out on the divider for January at that time. Here you can see all of the holiday cards that I completed, or some I might have skipped too, that I placed in front of the month of December. So what will happen with those is now I won't have to plan Christmas again in the way that I did this year, and cutting and having all those cards out. I have them already in front of the month of December, and when December comes up again, they'll be there, and all I have to do is place those cards in front of the dates. There's not going to be that period where, what do I have to do? I feel like I have so many things I have to do. It's already done. So setting aside the last 2 days of December, I'm just going to go ahead and walk you through my January. First of all, washing the car is not something I'm going to do that date. I thought I was going to do it on that date a couple weeks ago. Now I know when I'll be able to wash the car, so I'm putting it in front of a new date. The first week of January has most of the tasks there. You can see some of the video cards show up then. I really need to get all of these tasks done because I skipped all of them from last week. Like our windows, especially after going out, they definitely need to be washed. We need to do laundry because over the last week or so, we've had SICK kids around. I say that only because when I hear people say that, there's something in my brain that's like, oh no. As you see, as we go through the end of the month, there aren't cards there, because those are, for the most part, those are all weekly cards. Some of them are every other week or every other day, or they're daily cards, and those are all being shuffled, so I don't have to think about those again. They're just going to be on rotation. So eventually, these date dividers will have cards in front of them. Plus, my 12-week year will start, so there'll be some 12-week year activities as well. Here you get into that monthly review that we just filed in front of the 24th. And now, in front of the month of January, this is the exciting part. As far as the home management goes, And then later on with the 12-week year, each month we'll have, or each week we'll have tasks that I'll then have to file. But these are monthly cards that I'm going to pick dates that will make sense, that I'll most likely be able to complete these tasks. I'm going to place them in front of the date dividers. So I'm batching all of the oven and stove tasks together, and I'm going to pick Saturday with plenty of time, far away, because I don't want to do it right now, but I will batch all of those together and find the Saturday that I have time to do that. I'm putting the cleaning small appliances sooner because I do have a health related goal, and I want to make sure all the little things that I use to cook and clean and get my things done are all prepared and in their best condition. And finally, washing the shower curtain is not something that is in any way a priority for me right now, and it also won't take very long. That's going to get filed away. So that was planning January. My January is planned, especially after tonight's family council meeting. If you haven't done a family council yet, I recommend you trying it out. I have a resource in my Just Get Started card deck for how to run it, as far as like just a little worksheet goes. Also, like I've said in the past, you can look up family councils. I believe it stems from the Mormon faith. That's where I found a lot of the recommendations for my own family councils. That was super helpful tonight because we're all on the same page. I hope everyone has an incredible January, a wonderful start to 2024. If you don't feel like planning anything yet, or you feel like you're behind because you haven't opened up your planner, or you haven't thought about 2024 yet, you don't have everything all set in stone, you don't have goals picked out, you don't have your word of the year picked out, know that you're not alone. I also don't want to plan the new year either. We have time. It'll be okay. But otherwise, wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, and I will check in with you next week.